Hello and welcome to the Kundalini podcast. That was Zen. This is Dao. I'm Vivek Govek. Namaste. This is episode 104. Today I'm going to talk about the subject of mantras explained in more detail based on the last video, and I'd say about the last 3 or 4 videos in the last 10 series episodes. I believe I have talked about several things related to intonation and mantras. So today I chanced upon several different renditions of mantras by people. Now, people might say, well, you're talking about pronunciation so much and you say mantra. Why is that? Good question. Let me give you the example of the word avatar, A-V-A-T-A-R. It depends on what language I'm speaking. If I'm speaking in Marathi, I'll say avatar. If I'm speaking in English, though, I will definitely say avatar. Because it doesn't break the rhythm of anything and just keeps my sentences in a flow. Just the way I learned to speak English when I was a young kid. But if you say mantra in English, when you use the word, there's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Purists might disagree, but that's how I'm going to continue doing it. When I'm speaking in Hindi, I'll say mantra. But in English, it just doesn't flow out of my tongue that way. That, I have to take a halt. Who is being heard and how do I pronounce this word? Take it easy. Be chill. You avoid a lot of problems by being chill in a moment for some perceived slight that you're just ready to pounce upon. I've discovered through long and difficult and an arduous journey through, having said the wrong thing at the wrong time and not really being aware of what I was saying. Now, how that helps or doesn't help oftentimes is decided by how you change yourself into. So, similarly, if your emotions are under your check, what comes out of your mouth, the flavor of it, the color of it, the tone of it, will all depend on how much transformation or transformative effort you've put into it. First, the pendulum will swing in one way and then another. You'll first start learning to manipulate words the right way, and then your vocal box, how you expel the air out, how you breathe in, when you pick up a word chain and how you make that into a sentence, the pauses, the effects, a good use of the grammatical exclamation points, etc., that are available to you, commas, semicolons, knowing their use in speech, not just in writing, comes in handy. So, how you can transform yourself from the inside out is, I would give the analogy of a Jenga. If you have seen the board game Jenga, Jenga, it's like a bunch of blocks that you build up, and you pull the blocks and see how that stays steady. Now, imagine a Jenga with some circuitry, like a Lego-like circuitry, and a mechanism, think in your mind, or some Tetris-like screen where you're taking off blocks, and then it all becomes one 3D jigsaw puzzle, square, or not square, but a cube or a globe, and everything just fits in place, and a circle forms, just by the right parts removed that allow it to collapse into place as a solid. If you can visualize that, that's what happens. You are making some efforts towards changes in your speech, behavior, emotional patterns. What you absorb, how you transmute it, and what comes out. And the root causes of all of your possible different kinds of modes of expression available to you. How you would come out with something in the past versus how you see it today. Having grown as a mature person, as an intellectual, as a person that has some heft of thought and not just a rote memorization or do's and don'ts of behavior that become jangly when you go from one culture to another. How quickly you get the Rosetta Stone in your mind travels through what kind of an adaptation you make to your vocal habits, to your behavior, what is perceived as an insult and what is perceived as a compliment, and how to navigate those worlds. What shines out of this, what is excused, is a gauche. Here I use the word G-A-U-C-H-E, gauche, which is awkward and slightly maladapt to the culture that they live in. That attitude is forgiven because the intention is good, or at worst not intentionally harmful. It is a reaction to something that they are mentally adjusting to. which was the case with my Kundalini awakening. So I could have given caveats and made videos saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm going through. And then it all became clearer. So that's how it happened in my mind for the Kundalini awakening process. And what this energy does when it grooves patterns, fuses your brain, etc., and causes a third eye to appear, is with your intention, focus, breathing apparatus being used both as an intention driving device and as a device to provide oxygen to your body, to your brain. And this process, changing your diet, both through your ears, through your stomach, they're both sensory organs. So you have to bring about the change by what changes you bring up in your intention, focus. Are you thankful to God? Do you have gratitude in your heart when you're eating a meal? How good are you at assimilating what was given to you yesterday and bringing it into changed habit today? All of that comes into practice exactly like I mentioned, like a 3D puzzle that fits together into a globe once the right parts have been removed. But you only have to remove the right parts and leave the essential parts in. Understand? That's the juggling act. And sometimes you end up discarding some things that you then regret discarding when the cube is formed. Or the circle, the sphere. Why did I throw that part out before? Because I was not cognizant that this was my end goal at the time when I collected that part. But thank God, I removed these 10 harmful things. Okay, one little thing that I lost can be built back because I already had it. I have the memory of it. But these 10 things were truly detrimental and had to go. At least they're gone, and at least it looks like a completed circle, sphere, rather than that complete mess that it was before. See what I'm saying? That's how the psyche is. And here's why this is an important thing, because this is your operating system driving the rest of the actions of the day, the rest of the flow of how you act out in civil society or in private encounters with human beings, where you are completely taken by the moment and you don't have a grounding, a structure to fall back on. It helps to have a mind that is airtight, not only to outside sources, but to your own inner workings and old patterns that might click into place with the right circumstances, calculations, things from your past brought enough into your life. And each one of those immediately becomes a chance for adaptation, a chance for finding your legs with this new infrastructure put in place in your thinking apparatus. That's the best way I can put it. When we start thinking of it that way, when we start seeing it that way, that minor adjustments made during the day will bring about great changes later on. And I can live an imperfect life if I just don't give up hope that the process is going to work in the future. Now, when you attach your hopes to something where it doesn't work for a while, you know the results will come, and you're doing the work in hopes that the results will come, and they never arrive, that's an expensive lesson to learn. You have learned that lesson through a great expense of time, resources, your effort, your intention, your focus. So, hats off to those people who can correct course. And when they realize something doesn't work for them, change and go to what does change and work for them for the better. That realization and self-assessment goes through various changes in the psyche. Why go it alone and go upstream, not even knowing that you're doing so, or not, just saying, I don't know the path, thank you God, help me out. And then using what is right for you sonically, mantras, how you pronounce them. That's enough. The intention, the focus, the capacity to change, wanting to change, moving in the direction of change, and not letting past missteps brought back into your life through whatever provocations or through your own actions not be something you slip from. Or if you do, correct course back easily, because that mechanism has now been put in place. Every single interaction with another human being, and every single way of dealing with human interactions and a civil approach to life, when you start seeing it through the prism of who you are in your new self, however imperfect that is, it gives you the strength to keep moving on to the right direction. That strength has to be cultivated, nurtured, will be tested. You know that for a fact. Hey, that's easy. It will be tested with the outside world. So that helps you change course. And if you bring that navigation on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, well, here's how you do it. Alternate nostril breathing, positive affirmations, meditation, mindfulness, and awareness brought into your daily reality on a day-to-day basis, handling things when they come your way that need to be handled. Like Bruce Lee used to say, kick when you have to, punch when you have to, block when you have to, run when you have to. So, whatever you need to do in life, that is for your best interest. But hey, I'm still afraid that my old habits might come to intrude. I have made the right changes and I'm about to be tested again. Don't know when. But when that test happens, am I ready? Well, let's find out. But in the meantime, I'll keep doing these practices. That faith is required for certain things. Well, isn't it good to have somebody who has gone ahead for you in the process? 10, 15 years in advance. That's how long my Kundalini process has been going on. And this is the refinement I have seen in my psyche. Thanks to whatever changes I've made, thanks to what the Kundalini Awakening told me, is the authority I derive from. And that's all I express. These are all my personal opinions, things that brought about changes in a positive way, just because I stuck to things. But hey, during the dark times, there is hope. You will definitely get better if you use these methods and personalize them, modify them, individualize them. Try to make yourself a better person and see through the prism of the new person already. Future nostalgia, like somebody says. As I'm doing the thing, hey, today I'm having lunch with my friends. 20 years from now, remember? I'll say, we had that lunch and that was such a joyous occasion. Somebody's birthday or anniversary, or somebody achieved something, became CEO or got a job, or became good at something and had a new announcement like a birth or a wedding, or great achievements, and the joy that you derive from sharing it with your friends, real good buddies that love you, and family members. And then the joyous occasion, the sweets, the enjoyment, the partying is a good memory. But as you're having it, you don't have the wherewithal sometimes to know that this will in the future become an event worth remembering. This will be something worthy of note at some future point. Mindfulness allows you magically to have this future nostalgia, because there is no meddling with your active mind that has moved in the wrong directions and roamed around uncorrected without a calm, steady influence of whichever part of the mind that benefits the best from meditation, that brings about that change, has already kicked in and brought you back to your grounded reality, brought you back to what you intended with that focus when you said the first mantra. That's the advantage of it. That's the power of mantras. I believe I'm saying a couple of things, but to simplify the concept before I end this video, to summarize, what I'm trying to say is, it's like removing what's wrong for you through observation of patterns, and you can only observe patterns if you have a system, like one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 hour at a time, and then have a way of assessing your past patterns without judgment, looking at yourself in your future behavior and making the best of whatever is given to you at any given moment because of those patterns. That's in your hands. And again, dwelling on the result and dwelling on who and what you're going to become through these results that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis, or have to bring about more changes, or do you really have to bring about more changes? Are you really lacking in something right now, or do you just enjoy the moment, let go, relax, not let the left brain obsessively take over, not let the right brain go into fantasy, and let them work together in harmony so the best results are obtained for your life? What techniques, methods do you follow? What thoughts do you hold on to? What thoughts do you let go of? And a mechanism that works on a daily basis, showing you results regularly, and an assessment mechanism which is honest towards your own psyche, is what yields best results. And the end of the journey, wherever it goes, however it evolves, is not in your hands. Your own actions and overcoming what kept you behind, what obstacles you faced that you couldn't overcome yesterday, and wow, today I could accomplish that. Wow. Now how do I learn from this the best so that I can do it again? Second one, wow, that's a repetition. Third one, wow, now 3 times. It's becoming easy, it's proving patterns. What do I set up so that it becomes part of this already strong mental infrastructure that I have created through mantras, through my own discipline, through using all practices that are given to me, and discarding the old self that was keeping me away from my best, most optimized self. That, in a nutshell, is what I'm trying to explain today. I hope you found it helpful. Peace, love, blessings. Be well.